headed to Las Vegas for the WagerTalk and Sports Memo meet and greet? Well, we want to make your trip easier by discounting our 3-day all-access packages to only $39 with no coupon needed. This offer is valid from Wednesday, August 17th through Sunday, August 21st, and is good at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo with no limit to how many handicappers you can lock up for $39 each. So if we're going to see you at the Westgate this weekend or not, enjoy this incredible 3-day package special. That's right, get a 3-day package from your favorite handicapper for the price of a 1-day all-access.
Welcome to WagerTalk Today for Thursday, August 18th. No, I am not the Prez, and that means we're only 10 seconds into today's show, and we've already cashed a winning ticket. We've got a big lineup for you guys today. We've got Mr. Dave Cokin, and I did say Mr. because I was taught to respect my elders, so it is Mr. Dave Cokin. We've got Matt Jospehs up next. He's in the middle slot. And, of course, we got the Irishman to round it out, Mr. Kevin Dolan. I can't call him Kevin. He's younger than me, Mr. And then, of course, he is Teddy Covers. Teddy, how was your Wednesday, and what did we learn from Wednesday?
Yeah. And, of course, on today's show, we're going to break down Bears-Seahawks for tonight. We're going to talk about Broncos-Bills. We're going to talk about Virginia and their season win total. And, of course, we're getting into a couple of fights with Kevin Dolan later in the show. A couple of guys whose names I don't even want to try to pronounce. I'm going to let Kevin do that for us. When it comes to what we learned last night, look, it's GM firing season in MLB right now. The Tigers did it. Now the Rangers have done it first. Chris Woodward got fired, and then they fired the GM yesterday. And first, make it perfectly clear, Marco, I do blame the GMs. You want to change the culture of an organization, you fire the GM and hire a new guy. So, being that he's the yes guy in basically every contract or free agent or internal issue, the team is underachieving repeatedly and not going in the right direction. Sure, you fire your GM. But when it comes to, from a betting standpoint, look, when the manager gets fired, it doesn't happen all the time, but it happens a fair bit. When Joe Girardi got fired, all of a sudden the Phillies got good this year in MLB. A legit spark under Rob Thompson. Happens in the NBA. The NHL is a poster child for bet on the team whose coach just got fired. But GMs, the players don't care. The long, slow changes. I love the Rangers' new hire, by the way. Chris Young, former MLB pitcher and a freaking sharp guy. But he's no lock to succeed in Texas. The Rangers are every bit as bet against today as they were before the firing. Who's next, Marco? We know there's going to be another GM
Teddy,
who's head rolls in the next week or two.
But you know what?
The question is, who
we're
is
looking
it
at
going to be?
baseball, football, getting ready for the new season. I just go with what I see on the field, and that's what I can deal with. Like you said, I agree with you 100%. And when we bring on our first guest, Dave, he's made a living on riding the fired manager theory. That's one of the best, especially in an everyday sport like baseball. I think it's better than any of the other ones in lighting that fire. I know he did it this year with the Phillies, as you mentioned. And I can remember a couple of years ago when we were doing a radio show together, every day it was the St. Louis Cardinals for a long stretch, and Dave just kept cashing those tickets. You ride it till it's done. We talk about streaks in baseball. It's the best sport for riding with and against teams on streaks. So that manager one, the new spark, I love that one. But speaking of Dave Cokin, let's bring him in. Dave, how are you doing today? And I got to tell you, congrats, my man. Another big golf winner over the weekend, plus 2,500. I don't know how you do it, but whenever I saw you cash that winning ticket again, I had the vision of all your customers in their living room doing the dance like, from Caddyshack with the gopher, just happy as could be because it has been an incredible run for you. Tell us, how you felt Sunday and, tell us about this great run you've had with the golf winners.
Well, the playoff was insane. I mean, it was just crazy, and you got lucky in the playoff. I mean, it's not often you win the playoff with a bogey, but that's what Zalatoris did. Wasn't exactly great golf, Will the thrill comes through. By the way, the new coach or new manager theory, evidently it applied in this situation because we had a new caddy theory. Zalatoris fired his caddy in the middle of the prior tournament. After 36 holes, got a new caddy on the bag, and it worked out pretty well. So we'll see if I don't know that you'll have a long winning streak in golf like you do in baseball, but that was still a nice win. What else did you ask me? Oh, explain the golf one? I can't explain it. I mean, you got to have some luck to win outrights. But I have a checklist that I go through each week. I know how to break down the courses the guys are playing on. Lots of good information out there. And look for the guy with the most check marks and then value as far as the price is concerned. So if it's not broken, don't fix it. And hopefully we'll keep it going.
Good stuff, Dave. I know you got a couple NFL preseason games. We're going to start it off with the first one. It is tonight. It is the Chicago Bears, and they are playing the Seattle Seahawks. We're seeing a line of 3.5 and 39.5. How are you seeing this one?
Well, originally I looked at this and said, well, this might not be a bad spot for the Seahawks because you've got the Locke-Smith combo, which is maybe not good for the regular season, but not bad for preseason. And the Seahawks had a really bad game against the run last week, which I think, Carol, even the exhibition season, you want to firm that up. Okay, you don't want to be giving up chunks of yardage on the ground like they did last week. But that all changed when Locke gets ruled out. So now you get Geno Smith and Jacob Eason as the quarterbacks for Seattle. I don't want to play Eason, so that took me out of Seattle. I think you can make a case maybe for the Seahawks first half. I think they'll have a little advantage there. And again, this is the difference between preseason and regular season. Not going to see me extolling the virtues of Geno Smith in regular season play. But in the preseason, he's one of those veteran quarterbacks who can run a system and not kill you with mistakes. The Bears, this is going to be a long year for Chicago. Fields doesn't look good. The offensive line is bad. The skill position talent is just plain weak. Their wide receiver, I think they must have the worst wide receiver core in the NFL. They're a last place team to me. So even in preseason, I'm not excited about the prospect of backing the Bears. So I'd look Seahawks first half. I didn't end up playing the game. Too much uncertainty, but that would be my lean.
So when you're talking, I just want to go back to golf for 1 minute because I want to run down this list. Since not like 20 years, not like 5 years, in the last 2 years, Dave, you cashed plus 2,500 with Will Zalatoris. You plus 1,800 with Scotty Scheffler, plus 3,500 with Cam Smith, plus 5,000 with Ryan Brehm, plus 5,000 with Joaquin Neiman, plus 8,000 with Daniel Gavins, plus 3,150 with Colin Morikawa, plus 1,100 with John Rahm, plus 5,400 with Garrick Higgs, plus 1,300 with Jordan Spieth, plus 2,000 with Brendan Grace, and plus 2,000 with Daniel Berger. That's in the last year and a half. That's a hell of a run, my friend. I got to give you all the credit in the world. Kudos. Now,
there's a few of those that were fun, and where the intangibles came into play. Ryan Brehm would be the one that stands out the most. It was a soft field, and it was just an unusual set of circumstances. I said, this might be worth a shot. Brehm was in the last week of a medical exemption, and his wife was on the bag. It's like, this guy's going to go out there and just have fun. And he actually set up well on that particular course. And, you don't expect to hit 50 to 1s, but it turned out to be, not only did it win, it won by a lot. I think he won the tournament by 5 strokes. So that was the best out of that whole bunch.
It's a pretty good run with the whole bunch, Dave. Don't sell yourself short. I'll give you all the credit in the world, man, because that's something that I cannot do. When it comes to Seahawks Bears, this is a game that has seen some pretty wild betting action all week. It's clear. There are, we talk about who the sharps like and who the squares like, who the recreational bettors are playing and who the professional bettors are playing. And this is clearly a game where the wise guys are on both sides of the game. You're seeing money coming on Chicago. You're seeing money coming back for Seattle. You're seeing money coming in on the under. You're seeing money coming back for the over. You're seeing a first half money line as low as minus 140, and then a minute later it's as high as minus 170 or minus 180. In these scenarios where you're seeing respected betting groups with strong opinions, strong bettable opinions going against one another, and I know you're not a guy that looks at that, and not a guy that focuses on what the markets are doing.
I look at it, but it's not of any real consequence to me. In other words, I'm not going to mention the site, but there's a website that puts a tremendous amount of importance on it. Follow the wise guys. Yeah, so you get 51%. Okay. Well, that's what it is. It's a very small advantage, long term. Very small. Not a profitable advantage, by the way, if you're following the wise guys, particularly because you don't even get the same line they do.
Exactly.
We already bet it. You're betting it after the bet. It's just it's terrible advice. When I see this, follow the wise guys. Jeez. I can tell you
Dave,
if you're following the shops because they're shops, then you're not shop. Okay.
Dave, we got a second game you're going to take a look at. We got the Denver Broncos and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo staged a big comeback last week against Indianapolis. We're looking at a line of -6 and a total of 42. How are you seeing this one?
Okay, so this one, I'll make a little 2% play on the Bills here. I did play this one. And I don't play big in preseason, so 2%. Everybody knows about the Baltimore winning streak. Ravens are now 21 in a row. And depending on your lines, either 19-2 or 19-1-1 against the spread. There's another long streak out there. It's the Bills. They've won 9 straight preseason games. Their last preseason loss was in August of 2018. So don't tell me coaches might say, I don't care if they win a game. Harbaugh cares about winning the games in the preseason in Baltimore, and so does this guy in Buffalo. Don't tell me that. And I watched that game last week, and they wanted to win the football game. And that, to me, is the kind of team you want to go ahead and back. And I like playing on streaks anyway. So give me the Bills. I had a little play on them last week. I'm going to play them again here. There's not much else to this other than the fact that nothing can convince me at this point that Buffalo doesn't want to win this football game, even though it doesn't count in the standings. It's in the line, but I'll play it anyway. Bills -6.
Yeah, so of this winning streak for Buffalo, I just went back and looked, and half the wins have come by less than enough to cover this point spread. Yeah. Are you worried at all that the number's a little bit too high? Especially, the Bills defensively, their defensive depth, really impressive last week. Their third stringers are playing, quality defense. But from an offensive standpoint, if you're laying 6, you got to put up some points. Are you worried at all about the margin of victory the Bills need to put together here?
Yeah, sure. I'm always worried. I'm worried about something in every game I bet because there's no such thing as a sure thing. One thing I will say, though, Matt Barkley looked great. He's a veteran. He knows the system. And he looked really good last week. And if he duplicates that performance, good luck to Denver. It's not stopping him. So I think the Bills are the right side of the game. And if they win and don't cover, well, that's the way it goes. And again, I'm not advocating putting big money on this. Somebody wants to. It's your money. Do what you want. But for me, it's a 2% wager, and I'm comfortable with that.
Dave, great stuff. Before we let you go, I'm going to ask you about what you've got going at WagerTalk. I want to tell everybody we've been, giving your praises about your golf, and deservedly so. You're also the all-time winningest capper net units at WagerTalk in college football, and college football is just around the corner. What do you got going over at WagerTalk right now?
Well, I've already bet 3 games, and they're all best bets. So I obviously like some stuff early on. One of those is a free play, by the way, on the the Clemson Georgia Tech game. That's free play. So just check out my homepage and you'll see that play. And it is a 4% play that you're getting free. The other 2 games, got to buy the package. They're up individually. if you want to buy them that way. Also had a win total, and I played one. I don't like playing a lot of win totals. I did play one of those, and that's available now. And, going out there and working hard, lots of good information out there. So set to go with the regular season, and can't wait for it to start.
All right, good stuff as always, Dave. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, it's Teddy's Big Game Breakdown. That's up next on Wager Talk Today.
%7 winners, 11, 145, and 1 overall record. Worst handicapping record ever? Well, not if you're a client of Dave Cokin and playing his outright tournament winner selections in golf. Over the past 12 months, David's picked up 56 units in golf, and since joining WagerTalk, he's up 219 units on his outright winners. This includes hitting the Masters at plus 1,800, British Open at plus 3,150, and last week nailing the St. Jude tourney with Will Zalatoris at plus 2,500. We know football season is here and is the focus, but money is money, so why not supplement your daily action with Cokin's Golf, and why not do it at a discount? For a limited time, get 12 months of golf from Dave Cokin for only $199, coming out to just $16.58 per month. Yes, Dave is up 200 units, and we are offering it for just over $16 a month. To lock in this offer before it expires, just head to Cokin's page and get 12 months of golf for $199 with no coupon needed.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. We're going to talk about the Braves and the Mets in just a minute. First, take advantage of the 3-day all-access pass offer right now. WagerTalk Sports Memo, just $39 for 3 days all-access. You can stack them. You can buy as many of those packages as you want. Really good deal today and this weekend over at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com. Make it easier for everybody for the meet and greet. There's a bunch of guys coming to town here in Las Vegas this weekend. So take advantage of that offer. Let's talk some Mets and Braves right now. Look, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel right here. All right. We have not good pitchers, elite pitchers. A fresh rested DeGrom is scary right now. 3 starts since coming off the DL after missing a year. In 16.2 innings, 6 hits and 1 walk allowed. 28 strikeouts during that span. That includes 5 innings of no-hit ball against the Braves. He did get hit with a walk and a home run in the 6th of that contest, but DeGrom certainly in excellent current form, and he's shown that he can shut down this Atlanta lineup. Fried's coming off the DL, but it's a concussion issue, nothing physical. Fresh, rested Fried too, and he's been dynamite. He's been dynamite against the Mets. 2.86 ERA and 19 outings against them over the course of his career. Last time out in his last outing, he faced this Mets team and was pitching concussed in the 3rd. He pitched a couple more innings after that. I think he'll come back strong today. It's not a game where I want to lay with the Mets. The Braves saved their top 3 bullpen arms, and I think Fried can throw zeros just as much as DeGrom. First 5 total, been bet down from 3.5 to 3. You get plus money on the 3 to the under. We're not seeing runs early in this one. First 5 under. Mets and Braves expect the pitchers' duel to be on display in Atlanta. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Marco.
All right, good stuff, Teddy. And we're going to bring in our next guest. He is a prop expert over at Sports Memo. Let's welcome in Matt Jospehs. And Matt, it's been a while since you and I have done a show together. Good to see you, my man. How's it going?
Good to see this show actually has a competent host. I mean, we know Teddy's going to do his part, but good to see an upgrade in the host position. Well done, Marco.
Appreciate that. Always good to blow some smoke up one of the owners. Good job. Good job there. You cashed another prop. All right. You do got some props for us today. You've got a player prop and a season win total. Let's start with that player prop. What are you bringing us today?
So look, a lot of books offer a lot of player props, so I'm looking for some value. I'm not going to go and take some of these big juice props, and one of the ones that I kind of like, and this is what I've learned from Teddy quite a bit about reading quotes and reading things. I'm going to go and take the over on Albert O. I'm not going to say his last name. It's the former tight end out of Missouri. He's with the Denver Broncos. Albert O. His over on his touchdowns receiving is 4.5. And one of the main reasons why I like this, there's a couple of reasons why. First off, everybody's talking about him. The offensive coordinator's talking about him. Russell Wilson is talking about him. They're saying he's all over the place. He's doing all sorts of things. He's having a great training camp so far, and I think you have to kind of take that into account. And then you also look, the Tim Patrick injury, Patrick's a slot receiver, and that opens up things a little bit more across the middle. He's not fighting with Noah Fant anymore for receptions and targets and playing time. Only Dulcich, the former UCLA tight end, is behind him that could be there. And then finally, you look at what Russell Wilson did in Seattle when it came to the tight ends. Jacob Hollister, Will Dissly, Greg Olsen when he was there. All these guys, he loves throwing to those tight ends. So I think a guy who's having a great training camp paired off with a quarterback that loves throwing to tight ends, and it's even money, I think there's some value in over 4.5 receiving touchdowns for Albert O of the Denver Broncos.
I'm going to try it. Isn't it Okwabunum or something close to that? That's
pretty good. I'm guessing, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's something close to Okwabunum. But here's my question, all right? I was looking yesterday. I read a really interesting article talking about how the season-long props, the player props, if you just blindly bet every single player for every single thing under, it's profitable. Because everyone wants to bet overs, and everyone wants to bet overs. And in general, there's so many ways. When you have an under bet, you can always cash when a guy gets hurt, which will never happen with an over bet, and so many guys do get hurt. Do you worry at all about making season-long over bets with anybody? Because I know some of the bettors that I talk to, all they want to play is unders. Simply the injury factor and the fact that everything's juiced to the moon. Are there over? Obviously this is not a high-profile over that's juiced to the moon. But in general, are you comfortable playing some overs, or are you playing mostly unders?
I agree with you what you say about the unders, in that, especially in football. Like if you've taken Christian McCaffrey unders the past couple of years, you've cashed because obviously he hasn't played the whole season. I think the books have kind of adjusted his numbers a little bit. But when you're looking at this list of player props and things like that, like you mentioned on the juice, if it wasn't even money on this over, I probably would have just put it on my list, looked at some other things, and decided if it was worth it. But since I'm getting even money here and I'm getting a good situation, yeah, tight ends get injured, but it's not one of the more high-profile injury positions. It's not a quarterback. It's not a running back, wide receivers, things like that. So I thought that the combination of the price, the number being offered, and the situation just kind of offered up a perfect kind of concoction, and that's why I'm taking the over for the tight end.
Good stuff on that one, Matt. And let's take a look at a team that you know pretty well in your backyard. How about the Virginia Cavaliers? Are we going to go over or under with them on that season win total?
So I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit because the over on this was a lot better in terms of it was like plus 120, plus 130 at one point. And I should have jumped on the over then. But I did a little bit more research, talked to my UVA guys and things like that. And I still like the over. And here's the reason why. So when I take a look at a season win total for a college football team, you got to break it down into their non-conference games, their home games in conference, and their road games in conference. And you look at this non-conference situation, they open up with an FCS school. Now, Richmond's going to give them a little bit of trouble, but I think it's going to be a higher scoring game. I'll be interested to see what the total is in this one. And then you look, they're playing at Illinois. I'm not an Illinois guy. I think there's a very good chance that Virginia could win that game. They get ODU at home, and ODU is a solid team. They're not great. And they get Coastal Carolina late in the season at home as part of a 4-game homestand. So there's a good chance they get 3 wins in this non-conference situation. And then they play at Syracuse, at Duke. I think they split at least one of those. They play at Georgia Tech. That's a win. Georgia Tech's the worst team in the conference. And they play at Virginia Tech. And look, these two teams are going to be about the same here. So I've got 5 wins. And then I've got the home games against Louisville, Miami, UNC, Pittsburgh. I think they get at least 3 of those. I believe in Brennan Armstrong. I believe in this offense. They arguably have one of the best wide receiving corps in America. Their defense is a bit of an issue. But I think as the season goes along, they're going to get better. And that 4 games at home in their final 5 is going to be a massive stretch for me to pick up a bunch of wins. At even money or better, I think over 7 wins is worth a look for the Virginia Cavaliers.
So Virginia's got to win 8 games to cash your bet. And I've got one huge question mark about the Virginia Cavaliers. Just stands out like a sore thumb, and that's the offensive line. We know they have the returning quarterback. We look at the offensive skill position questions. We don't our skill positions, and we're like, yeah, this team's got talent. But I've seen it 100 times in college football, where the team has the skill position talent, has the quarterback, but they graduated everyone from the offensive line, and the offense is a stick in the mud thereafter. Are you worried at all about the state of Virginia's offensive line? And their defensive line, to me, is a real depth concern as well. So I guess I'll ask you, the Cavs in the trenches, is this an 8-win team?
I think it is, only because they get a cushy start to the season, I would say. I think they get an opportunity to work some of the kinks out and kind of become a whole lot better. You look, as I said, that FCS opponent should give them an opportunity to work on their blocking and things like that. The Illinois road game, that's a Big Ten game. But, I don't think Illinois is great on either line either. Old Dominion is not going to present much of a problem. And then, look, as much as it hurts me because I'm a Syracuse guy, Syracuse's front line is not as good. Duke's is not as good, so they have an opportunity in these first 5 games to kind of iron some things out when things get a lot tougher. And by the way, a lot of those tough games are at home, where they're not bad in Charlottesville. And if they're winning games, the fans will show up. Now, if they're losing games, that it's a somewhat of a fair weather fan base. But I think they'll be winning some games, and those 4 games at home to end the season are going to be pretty big.
Matt, before we let you go, tell our viewers what you've got going over at Sports Memo.
So I've got a promo code. In 2020, I was the #1 college football handicapper on Sports Memo. Last year, I was up 30 units in college football. CFB 200 gets you $200 off my season. And if you want a taste as to what I can do, I wrote a win total article on every team in America for Athlon Sports. You can find that on my Twitter account. So I have some opinions on every team in America. If you want to kind of get a taste of who I like and who I don't like, you can find that on my Twitter account at MidMajorMatt.
Thanks, Matt. Good luck this season, and good seeing you, my friend. Let's bring in
Hang on, Marco,
Dolan.
because this is a guy who in his spare time over the summer was just like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna write up a little team preview for all. I tried doing that once, right? Writing a team preview for every team in college football. I did it, over the course of 25 years in Vegas, you end up with this assignment and that assignment. And I got one time. Dude, that's an exercise. Yeah, I got lots of opinions. Yeah, I got lots of notes. But when you're actually saying, all right, I'm going to put all of those opinions and notes into an article that someone can read and have opinions on and comment on, that's a ridiculous amount of work over the summer months. Not an easy task. Give Matt, Mid-Major Matt, all the credit, Matt Jospehs, all the credit for doing that. Because, again, I did it once. I'll never do it again, ever.
Absolutely. With Teddy, we know you do that with the NFL whenever you're doing your season win total report, breaking down all those teams. But that's a fraction of the number of teams you got to go through for sure.
Yeah. And even the NFL, even the NFL, Marco, I'm not writing up every team. I'm writing up the teams that I have bettable opinions on, which, this year was 6, at least so far, when it comes to win totals. So that's not even 32 teams. That's 6. What are they, 131 FBS teams this year? It's a lot of work. Then again, I'm confident if there's one, guys to talk to coming to the season who are going to know their college football, Matt Jospehs going to be one of those guys. Kevin Dolan knows his fighting.
Yes, he does. The question is, does he know how to pronounce all these fighters? Because I know myself and you, Teddy, we're not gonna try it. But let's bring in Kevin Dolan. Kevin, how are you doing, my man?
All good, Marco. Long time no see, and always good to be back on the show, obviously.
It is, and guys, I have to tell you a 10-second quick story. When we used to do the studio, and Kevin would come to town, when everybody else is doing their videos, all the crew and everything, they don't care. But when Kevin was on air, every woman at PBS would come down just to listen to this guy talk in that accent. I'm jealous, my man. Kudos to you. Give us some of that silky voice on the fights this weekend. Which one you want to start with?
Yeah, well, we'll go to the main one first, Marco. Joshua Usyk 2, one of the biggest fights of the year, obviously. And, look, we got to go back because it's a rematch. It's the second fight between these two. So going back to that first fight, this is going to be a much different fight because Anthony Joshua's game plan going into that first fight against Usyk, was to try and box him, look to kind of contest the middle of the ring, battle of the lead hands type of affair. But I can almost say, without a shadow of a doubt, that won't be the case this time around. Joshua has to be more aggressive. He has to go on the hunt for Usyk in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean being reckless either, obviously. It's got to be, aggressiveness in a kind of controlled manner, controlled bursts, and it's got to be from a range that Joshua's effective at as well. So, Joshua is one of the best mid-range punchers on the planet. He's extremely explosive, carries massive power in both hands, lead hooks are in the guard, uppercuts. At mid-range, this guy's punch selection is absolutely devastating. And it's something that he already showed in that first fight. He caught Usyk with a beautiful kind of picture-perfect left uppercut right to the solar plexus. That hurt Usyk. He kind of wheeled away, winded, for a brief second, looking for that escape route. So that's something when we talk about Joshua being more aggressive in this rematch that he simply cannot allow to happen this time around. He cannot allow Usyk to simply circle away, from danger whenever he feels like it. Joshua's got to get on him. When he feels he has him hurt. Easier said than done, obviously. We're talking about a master boxer here in Usyk, and try and rip off those destructive mid-range combinations that he's so effective at. So that's why Joshua's brought in Robert Garcia in the camp along with Angel Fernandez for this fight, try and implement a more offensive game plan for the rematch. The only question is obviously, whether he can do it or not. Joshua has to walk such a tightrope in this fight, in my opinion. We already said he has to be aggressive, but he can't be too aggressive. He can't, collapse the pocket because Usyk's the much better fighter. And he can't be doing, he can't keep reacting to lead hand feints all night. So you have to picture this rematch almost like, Luke Skywalker going up against the Death Star. Every conceivable advantage in the ring, bar power lies with Usyk in this fight. Higher ring IQ, better footwork, more stamina, greater variety of angles. Usyk has it all. Look, to wrap it up, can he do it? Obviously, when you're carrying as much power as a guy like Anthony Joshua does, anything is possible. I just don't believe he can. Usyk, to me, has far too many wrinkles to his game. He's beefed up considerably from that first fight as well. It looks like actually Usyk's the one that wants the stoppage in this fight. Wants to prove a point. He's carrying Ukraine on his back, obviously, with everything that's happening over there. So I backed Usyk by stoppage prop in the first fight, round 7-12. We got 12-1 on that. And we were so close to hitting that. Usyk had him all over the shop in that final round. I actually had Johnny Detroit messaging me at one point about the phantom 10 seconds. You'll have to look it up yourself at the end. But I think it's highly likely Usyk goes one better this time around, closes the show. So I have a 5% prop play uploaded for this fight at WagerTalk. You can grab that right now. But in terms of a side and something I've already bet personally, I'm rolling with Usyk by stoppage here, plus 220, as I believe we do see Usyk make a statement on Saturday night.
So when we're talking about the heavyweight championship fights, certainly for people in my age range, the one that they're going to remember as much as any is Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson in a kind of a bizarre location and a fight that was at a weird time, well out of the States. And, you wake up the next morning like, wow, that just happened, 40-1. This isn't 40-1, but this fight, I'm not going to say Jeddah, Saudi Arabia is an obscure location, but it kind of is for boxing. Does the location matter at all here? Does the fact that the time of the fight matter at all here? Because it reminds me a little bit, and again, I'm no expert when it comes to boxing, but it reminds me a little bit of one of these scenarios where, they're fighting a long way away at a weird time, and sometimes funny things happen in those scenarios. Is this a possibility for funny things happening in this scenario?
It's a possibility. I mean, if it does affect one fighter in this, it'll be Usyk. Joshua's already had a rematch in the Middle East before. He won the rematch against Andy Ruiz here. So, he's kind of used to this environment. He's trained out here a lot as well. So, if it does, if it affects one fighter, it might be on the Usyk side of the play.
Kevin, let's take a look at the Filip Hrgovic and Zhilei Zhang fight. Hope I didn't butcher them too bad. How are you seeing this one?
I thought Teddy might remember Zhilei Zhang, obviously, because we talked about him on the Canelo Bivol card a few months ago, where I think he might have butchered his name as well. But yeah, he takes on Filip Hrgovic this weekend. on the undercard of the Usyk-Joshua fight. And this is a fight that was originally meant to take place back in May. Hrgovic's father unfortunately passed away, so the fight had to be postponed. But this really sets up to potentially be one of the best fights of the card this weekend. You know, Zhang is a fighter, you know, as I said, we already talked about in May. They call him Big Bang. It's for a very obvious reason, as this guy has absolutely phenomenal power. Half of all his wins have come via first-round KOs. You know, he doesn't mess around in there. So he goes up against a guy in Filip Hrgovic with an 86% KO ratio of his own. You know, massive power on both sides. And many people consider Hrgovic, you know, to kind of be the champion and weight of the heavyweight division. You know, he's a phenomenal talent. And because of that, actually, no one wanted to face him. You know, various guys at or kind of near the top of the division turned him down. They all said they were, we've got injury concerns. Like no one wants to face Hrgovic. So up steps, you know, Big Bang Zhang. You know, this guy will fight anybody. So I'm expecting fireworks in this one. You know, both guys have the ability to stop each other, which is what we want to see as fans. You know, but unfortunately for Zhang, he's 39 years old, and while he is extremely dangerous early in fights, he does tend to gas quite considerably as well. So I'm going to take the Filip Hrgovic in rounds 5 to 8 prop. I think he wears him out in this one. A plus 162, I believe. As you know, if Hrgovic can weather that early storm from Zhang, it really is his fight for the taking. So yeah, I'm going to take Filip Hrgovic in rounds 5. I can barely pronounce the names myself. In rounds 5 to 8 at plus 162. As yeah, that's the way I'm going to play this one on Saturday.
All right, so, Kevin. Hey, tell our viewers what you've got going at WagerTalk.
Let me give you a quick follow before we.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, before we cut you off, Kev, because I want to ask. You said something that stood out to me right there. Two things that stood out to me. First is you said this is going to be a good fight, and one of the best fights of the night. And when I see a favorite of minus 1,300, minus 1,500, you tell me it's going to be a good fight. All I'm thinking is dog right there. So it's going to. And secondly, because I'm going to give you both. Secondly, the over/under. They're talking about 5.5 rounds. It's the lowest total of rounds for any of these fights on Saturday. You're saying you think 5.5 or the 5th through 8th round is when we're going to see the big edge from the favorite. Would you want to play that over when it comes to the rounds proper? And if that's something you gave to clients, you're allowed to skip that question.
It's too difficult to play over, Teddy, in my opinion, because as I said, both of these guys, it's one punch could finish this fight, it's going to be an amazing fight for about 4 or 5 rounds. But we talked back in May, Zhang had a fight against Jerry Forrest last year, and he literally, like, there wasn't any big punches. Nothing really happened that much. You know, he knocked Jerry Forrest down, but he actually had to get the ambulance called. He was that much out of gas. That's how bad his stamina is, that they had to bring oxygen into the ring. So Zhang's fantastic for 4 or 5 rounds, but once he's out of gas, he's there for the take. And so I think Hrgovic will be kind of cagey early on. So I like that 5 to 8 prop more. But what a great fight for at least 4 rounds.
Okay, now, Kevin, what do you got at WagerTalk this week?
Yeah, ton of action up right now over at WagerTalk, Marty. We're running that special offer on our boxing 1-year all access pass as well right now. That takes further 200 off an already discounted price when you use FIGHT 200 at checkout code. So we've already made an absolute ton of money over the last 12 months in boxing. 33 and 18 run right now on all our boxing main event releases. 78.8 units in total, obviously $100 better, up almost $8,000 now. So hopefully we can stay red hot in those main event plays moving forward. And obviously with the boxing schedule as packed as it is over the next few months, hopefully that's a distinct possibility as well. So yeah, plenty to look forward to.
Good stuff, Kevin. We appreciate you joining us.
No problem, boys. Have a good one at the Westgate.
Cheers. We'll miss you, buddy.
That's right.
Next
Good time to segue about
the
big weekend, guys. If you're in Vegas this weekend, join us Saturday, 5 to 9 at the Westgate meet and greet. We got some great swag we're going to be handing out, free drinks. What more? Get to see all of the crew. And I was with some of the crew last night, Teddy. They're flooding into town here. All of our cappers from everywhere. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, it really is. And, of course, it's worth noting there will be no WagerTalk Today tomorrow on Friday. No show tomorrow. This is why. The production crew is coming to town. The cappers are all coming to town. Everyone's either flying in or flying out, so we apologize. There will be no show tomorrow. That being said, we'll be back on Monday. And, of course, if you're around, if you're in Las Vegas, if you're driving distance from Las Vegas, Saturday, 5 to 9 at the Westgate Superbook, we're all just going to be hanging out, BSing around. You got questions, you want to come, it's just a legit meet and greet. I have a blast at these things, Marco. Every time I've been at one, I have fun. I'm really looking forward to Saturday night. I hope many of you out there will join us.
Yeah. Teddy, normally Prez does a presidential address at this point of the show.
Yeah. Prez isn't here. There's no way we're doing a presidential address. However, we could possibly do maybe a vice presidential address. Let's cue it up and see how that goes.
All right, I got to go fast because I'm only the vice president. I only get a minute, not 2 minutes. So we're going to give you one game today. We're going to take a look at Pittsburgh and Jacksonville this weekend, preseason football. Guys, we all know about all of the overs last week. What we had, it was just a over fest. But you know what? I am going to go under. And I know you're going to say, but Marco, the Steelers, that offense looked ridiculously good last week. All three quarterbacks. There's a quarterback battle in Pittsburgh. That means there's going to be points. Tap the brakes, guys. Mitch Trubisky will be the starting quarterback opening day for the Steelers. He's still learning the offense. Kenny Pickett had a tremendous second half, 13 of 15. It was with the third unit, which he's been practicing with all preseason, and it was against third and fourth string defenses. Mike Tomlin moved him up to the second unit this week. He's going to get into the game earlier this week. That means he's going to be facing tougher defenses. I'm going under. And then you look at Jacksonville. That offense has shown absolutely nothing in the first two games. We're going to take this one under what I feel is an inflated total. 43 for a preseason game with the Steelers in Jacksonville. No, take under 43 for the vice president address for this week. Teddy, you want to take us home?
That being said, Marco, you gave yourself a minute and the sharp money was on you like the under for the game, but the sharp money was on the over 1 minute for the vice presidential address, and sharp for a vice presidential address, the sharp money cashes with room to spare. Listen, I want to thank all of our guests today, Kevin Dolan, Mid-Major Matt Jospehs, and of course, Dave Cokin at the top. I want to thank Marco D'Angelo for filling in as co-host today and leading the show for us. And I want to thank all of you out there in viewerland. No show tomorrow. We will be back on Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon for you back east. Between now and then, come on, say it with me, guys. Enjoy the games and good luck.
Are you headed to Las Vegas for the WagerTalk and Sports Memo meet and greet? Well, we want to make your trip easier by discounting our 3-day all-access packages to only $39 with no coupon needed. This offer is valid from Wednesday, August 17th through Sunday, August 21st, and is good at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo with no limit to how many handicappers you can lock up for $39 each. So if we're going to see you at the Westgate this weekend or not, enjoy this incredible 3-day package special. That's right, get a 3-day package from your favorite handicapper for the price of a 1-day all-access.